just right there. If you could please face me and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly state that the testimony you may give in the cause now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you. Please have a seat. Witness stand. And for the record, say and spell your first and last name, please.
Isabella Sementilli, Isabella Sementilli.
Thank you, Honor. May I address her as Isabella?
Any way you want. I'll address Ms. Sementilli.
Okay. Well, I know you as Bella, is that correct?
Yes.
And we met, 7 years ago after your mother was arrested?
Yes.
Okay, and I was retained as her attorney, correct?
Yes.
Have we spoke many times since then over the last 7 years?
Yes.
Most of them having to do with scheduling and how the trial is proceeding, if it's going to proceed, so forth and so on. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And we'll get to this, but obviously you were the one who discovered the body of your father on the day of his murder, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you were the subject of many interviews, I assume, by the police. Is that right?
Yes.
You remember, and also you were the one who made the 911 call.
Yes.
Okay, and tried to revive him following the commands or orders of the person on the 911 call and trying to save his life, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you were interviewed, I take it, that night by the police?
Yes.
Did you, I take it, you tell me what condition you were in emotionally when that occurred?
That day when I was interviewed by the police, I tried my best. I mean, I was crying. I was in shock. So.
Your mother was also present at that time, correct?
Yes.
How long after you arrived at the scene and saw your father out on the patio did your mother arrive?
It was probably less than 10 minutes she was there. She was home.
Your mother is the defendant in this case, Monica Sementilli?
Yeah.
Okay. And can you describe what condition she was in after realizing that Fabio had been murdered?
She fell to her knees when she came home. She was screaming, crying. She couldn't stand up on her own. The minute she walked outside and saw what was happening, she fell to the floor.
Did that condition you observed change to any great degree the rest of that first night?
No.
When you say crying, did you see tears?
Yeah.
How do you know they were tears?
Because she was crying. Her face was wet.
Let me ask you this, Bella. Before, well, a little background. How old are you now?
24.
And how old were you at the time of your father's murder?
16.
Okay. And you were living on Victoria?
Yes.
Queen Victoria Drive, is that it?
Yes.
Did I get it right? And you had moved there from Canada, is that correct?
Yes.
How old were you when you moved to Los Angeles
10.
from Canada? 10?
Yes.
And you moved there with your father and your sister Jessica, is that right?
Yes, and my mom.
And your mom. Could you describe briefly how you believe your parents' marriage was leading up to the time your father died?
Yeah, they were best friends. They always went on dates together. And then if they went out, they always took us with them too. We were like a unit. We went on vacations together. They always told me to marry someone who's your best friend. And they were best friends. So.
Was your father a good father?
Yes.
Was your mother a good mother?
Yes.
You know now, and found out, I assume at some point, that your mom was having an affair with Robert Baker, correct?
Yes, the day she was arrested.
Okay. And how'd you feel about that?
I didn't believe it at first. I was pretty flustered and frustrated. And then they told me she was arrested, and then I went home after that and met up with my sister.
Did that affect your feelings towards your mother in terms of her marriage with your father?
Yeah,
How?
I was upset. Yeah.
Had you had any idea that that was occurring until your mother's arrest?
No.
And up to that time, had you seen your parents appear to be very happy together?
Yes, very happy.
So let me ask you this: on the day of the murder, do you remember? Well, let me ask you first. Do you remember waking up? What time that was?
Yeah, it was 6:45 in the morning.
And what did you do that morning?
I went to school.
Were you going to school regularly then?
Yes.
And what school was that?
Agora High School.
So, what time did you leave the house?
7:25 usually, 7:30.
Okay. And did you drive to school?
Yes.
What were you driving?
A Fiat, a white Fiat.
Okay. Did you notice whether your father was home that morning?
Yes, I did.
Was he home?
Yes.
Did you say hi to him?
Yes.
What was he doing when you saw him?
Just making coffee as I was leaving.
Did you know that morning whether he was going to work or not?
I did not know.
Did he at times stay home from work and skip work?
Yes, sometimes.
How often was that?
Once every few months.
When did you find out, if you did, that he had stayed home that day and had not gone into work?
I didn't know
When did you find out?
when I came home.
During the course of the investigation?
Yes.
So you were out the entire day until you returned
Yes.
to home, is that right?
Yes.
What time did you get out of school that day?
Around 3 o'clock.
Was that normal?
Yes.
And normally would you come home from school?
Yes.
How long would it take you normally to go from Agora High School to home at 3 o'clock in the afternoon of a weekday?
30 to 45 minutes.
Did you have anything, though, planned that day before coming home?
I had a job interview.
Okay. Did your mother know about that?
Yes.
And where was that job interview and with who?
It was at Italia Deli with the manager.
Where?
With the manager
Oh,
in
yes.
Agora Hills.
And approximately, or if you know the address, do you know the address?
I don't know the address. It's on Canaan and Thousand Oaks Boulevard.
And how far was that from Agora High School?
5 minutes.
How would you get there, or how did you get there that day, if you remember?
I drove.
And what route did you take?
I took Canaan to Thousand Oaks, that intersection. It's right next to my school, so I just turned out of my school and went there.
Okay, and it took you how long?
5 minutes.
And what did you do when you got there?
I waited there for about 15 minutes, and then I had my interview.
And who was your interview with, you recall?
The manager.
And it was to do what there?
To have a job.
As?
A sandwich maker.
Okay. Your father was a good sandwich maker too, wasn't he? Did you get the job?
Yes.
So what was your plans after leaving the interview?
I was going to go straight home.
Did something interrupt that?
Yes.
Can you tell us what it was?
My mom called me and said that my prescription glasses were ready and that I could go pick it up. And I asked if I needed someone to come with me, like an adult, because I was 16. And she said she would call them and then call me back to let me know.
And did she call you back and let you know?
Yes.
And did she tell you whether or not she would have to be there with you, or whether you could just go there on your own and then go home?
She called me back and said I can go pick it up myself and then come home.
And did you do that?
Yes.
When you called her, were you still at the Italian deli, or were you driving home already?
I was driving home already.
And then you went to the eye doctor, is that correct?
Yes.
You remember his name?
Dr. Cohen?
Okay. And you remember how long it took you to get there?
From where I was on the freeway, it was probably 15 minutes to get there, and then I picked up my glasses.
Okay. And you did not, your mother said she did not have to be there with you.
She did not have to be there with me.
So you just picked them up and left, correct?
Correct.
You did not have any eye exam or anything necessary at that point?
No.
You'd already been through that.
Right.
And then how long did it take you to get from Dr. Cohen's office to home?
It took me 7 minutes to get home.
So can you tell us, as best you recall, what time it was that you first reached your home and parked?
It had to have been around 4:15, I remember.
Sometime before 5 o'clock.
Before 5, yeah.
You don't know the exact time.
No, I don't remember.
Okay. And where'd you park?
I parked on the street outside of my house. That's usually where I parked.
Okay. Now, was the garage, how would you usually enter the house when you would park there?
I would enter the garage key code, and the garage would open, and then I would go through the door that leads to the kitchen.
Was that the shortest route to take to get into the house?
Yeah, I could have gone through the front door, but we rarely go through the front door.
Okay. And you had some kind of button to push, you said?
Yeah, on the outside of the garage, usually.
Okay. And did you do that?
No,
What did you do?
the garage was already open.
And did you see anything in the inside of the garage? Did you see the Porsche, for instance?
No, it was not there.
Your father owned a Porsche, is that right?
Yes.
Had he recently purchased it?
Yes.
About how long before?
I don't remember.
Well, his death occurred about January 23rd,
Yes.
2017.
Yeah.
Do you recall him getting the Porsche around Christmas time?
The fall, Christmas, something like that, yeah.
Do you know why he got a Porsche?
No.
Did you know if he liked that car?
Yeah.
Okay. So, did you see that car in the garage when you pulled home?
No.
Did that surprise you, or had you not yet learned that your father had stayed home that day?
It surprised me because usually the garage door and the gate are closed, but every once in a while someone will forget to shut it on their way out, so it was unusual, yeah.
Did you notice any blood on the garage door floor?
Not in the garage, no.
How did your father usually park the Porsche, if you remember? That is, was it straight in with, or did he back it in?
I would say straight in more than backed in.
Okay. But he was not there at that time.
No.
So where did you go?
So I went through the garage into the door that leads to the kitchen.
And the first thing you saw was your father, is that right?
Yes, when you open the door, there's a big window in the kitchen that you can see outside. So I opened the door and I saw him, what looked like him to just be sitting outside.
And how long did it take you to realize that it looked like he had been attacked or and was either dead or had real problems?
There was blood all over the kitchen. As I was walking in, I noticed it on the floor, on the walls, on the door, and it smelled like vinegar.
And what's the first thing you did?
I didn't even go outside. I just called 911 right away. I just dropped my stuff, and then I went outside after.
Okay. And you know how long you were on the phone with 911?
No, I don't remember.
Were you still on the phone with 911 when your mother arrived?
Yes.
Okay. And how did she arrive? That is, where did you first see her?
She opened the door to the backyard, which is where I was, and just yelled what happened and screaming.
Okay. And at some point, was she on the 911 call with you?
I don't remember.
At some point, were you getting instructions from the operator on how to hopefully save your father's life?
Yes.
And was your mother involved in that as well?
Yes.
And what was the operator telling you to do?
Put him on his back.
And did you attempt to do that with your mother's help?
We tried, but we couldn't do it.
He was just too big?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you make any attempts pursuant to the instructions of 911 to revive your father?
Yeah, I attempted.
And what was that?
To try and turn him, well, at first they told me to turn him on his back, but I was by myself at that point. My mom hadn't come home yet, and I was trying. And I even said on the call, I can't do it. He's too heavy for me to do it. And then shortly after, my mom came, and I told her, they're telling me to put him on his back, and she was trying to help me.
And before you could do that, did anyone else arrive?
No.
How long were you there before anyone arrived from the fire department, police department, or any agency?
It's less than 10 minutes.
Okay. Were you and your mom still trying to turn him over and help him?
Yes.
And I assume there was a lot of blood there.
Yes.
Okay. Who did you first notice arriving at the scene?
The firemen.
And was there more than one?
Yes.
Did they take over at that time in terms of caring for your father?
Yes, they told me and my mom to stay inside.
And where did you go with her?
To the dining table inside.
And was she with you the whole time?
Yes.
And was her physical condition any different than you described when she got there and saw the body?
It was the same.
And what about you, Bella? What shape were you in at that point? Do you remember?
I was just in shock. Again, I was crying, but then I wasn't crying. I was trying to be responsible. I was trying to help my mom. It's all over the place. So.
Who else arrived, or who were the first people to arrive after the initial firemen?
I remember Deborah first.
Deborah Obad?
Yeah.
Now, your sister Jessica,
Yeah.
had she been babysitting as far as you knew at the Obad house?
I didn't know that she was babysitting. I just thought she was out somewhere.
Okay. And was she the next member of the family you saw?
Yeah.
And was Deborah Obad with her?
No.
Okay.
No.
So eventually the police arrived, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and before they arrived, where were you and your mother?
At the dining room table.
Just waiting?
Yeah.
And were the firemen still working on your dad?
Yes.
At some point, did they tell you and your mom that they could do no more and he had died?
Yes.
About how long after they arrived did they tell you that?
I don't remember the timing.
Okay. And I assume that the condition of you and your mother remained the same, is that right?
Yeah.
How long was it before any police officers arrived?
I don't remember.
Were they the next people you saw, or was it
Yeah.
someone else?
Yeah.
And at some point, were you directed out of the house and told you could not stay there for now and had to go to a neighbor's house?
Yes.
Do you remember which neighbor that was?
Yes.
Whose?
Vanessa Schachter is my neighbor.
And was this someone you knew well?
Yes.
And how far away was that house from your house?
Like 5 steps.
Had your sister arrived by then?
Yes.
So did you and your mom and your sister go to the Schachter house?
Yes.
Were you escorted there by an officer?
Yes.
How long were you there before you were spoken to by any of the police?
I was probably there for about half an hour.
Were you with your mom the same time, all the time?
The whole time up until we did separate interviews with the detectives.
And was that at their direction?
Yeah.
Do you remember the names of any of the detectives who came there?
I don't remember.
Do you remember now? Does Parshall ring a bell, or?
Parshall rings a bell, yeah.
Okay. Your interview with them, was that separate, away from your mom and your sister?
It was me and my sister together.
Okay. And was your mother interviewed separately?
Yes.
And after the interviews concluded, what happened with you and your mom and your sister, if you know?
We went to sleep at Deborah's house.
Did your mom want to sleep at Deborah's house?
I don't remember if she wanted to or not.
So you and your mom and Jessica went over to Deborah's house.
Yes.
Didn't your mom want to sleep home in the family house?
I don't remember if she wanted to or not.
Did you?
No.
So Deborah had arrived by then, is that correct?
Yeah, she was with us at the Schachter's house too.
And I assume a lot of other people had arrived, is that correct?
Yeah.
Did you meet any of them, such as people from Wella or neighbors or even looky-loos?
Yes, my dad's friends came.
Did you talk to them?
Yeah, they gave us hugs and tried to comfort us.
Everyone was in pretty much the same condition, shocked?
Shocked, yeah.
Let me ask you this, Bella. Before your father's death, how would you have described your father's marriage with your mom?
They were best friends.
Did your dad have a favorite song?
Yes.
What was that song?
My Way by Frank Sinatra.
Did you ever see your mom sing that song during any of the events that took place, ceremonies or funerals following your father's death?
Yes.
Where was that?
I was not physically there. I just saw videos of it, but I do remember her singing it on a stage, and then I remember her singing it at my cousin's graduation in New York.
Okay. And were there other family members on the stage with her when she sang it?
Yes.
Was one of them Morella?
Yes.
That was from your father's family. How is she related to you?
She's my dad's sister.
Okay. And was she smiling and clapping and singing along?
Yes.
At any time, at least before your mother's arrest, did anyone say to you that they thought your mother was acting inappropriately at any of the events that she attended or the funeral or anything like that?
No.
You were at the funeral in Canada, is that right?
Yes.
Was there also a funeral ceremony here in Los Angeles area?
Yes.
Okay. You were there as well?
Yes.
When you went to Canada for your father's funeral and burial, was he cremated or was he buried himself without being cremated? Do you
He was
remember?
cremated.
And can you remember who made that decision, if you know?
I don't remember who made that decision, but it was me, my sister, my brother, and my mom that had a conversation about it, and we all agreed to cremate him.
Okay. Did anyone complain about that from Fabio's family?
No.
Did you hear any complaints about, well, let me ask you this. So, was he cremated?
Yes.
And then his remains were buried where, or placed where? Do you
They're in
remember?
Toronto.
Where?
In Canada, in Toronto.
Okay. Did anyone complain about that?
No.
Following that, did any members of your family come out to stay with you and your mom and your sister?
Yes.
To help out?
Yes.
And who was that?
My Aunt Anna came. My grandmother came. Morella came a few times. That's all I really remember.
And your Aunt Anna was just here in court, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And when they came, what did they do for you and Bella and your mom?
Just comfort us, keep us busy, helped us out. That's it.
Help you grieve?
Yeah.
Were they all there for you?
Yeah.
Did you have any issues with your father's family at that time?
No.
Did everyone appear to be in the same condition, and that is do the best they could to help you and your sister and your mom survive this terrible tragedy?
Yes.
Okay. What about your cousin Luigi? Did he come?
My brother?
Your brother, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I don't remember during that time.
Before then, what was the relationship with your father's family?
We were close.
Did you ever go on trips with them?
Like small weekend trips, yeah.
Did they ever come out to California
Yes.
for any particular holidays?
I'm not sure about a holiday, but they would come randomly throughout the year, yes.
And I'm talking about when your father was alive.
Yes, when my father was alive.
Who would come?
Morella, her partner Marco, her daughter Vanessa, Anthony and Stephanie would come too. They're my cousins. Yeah.
And how long were your parents married before your father was murdered?
22. They were married in 96, so 22, I think.
And at any time did you and your family, or Fabio and your mom's family, go to Canada on vacations or visits?
Yes.
And how often did that occur?
It was either we would go during the summer for a few weeks, or we would go for Christmas, so once a year.
And again, how would you describe how the two families got along or interacted?
We would spend equal time with each side of the family.
And get along?
Yeah,
How well?
got along well.
Did any of that change at some point, the relationship between you and your sister and your mom, or specifically you and your sister with your dad's family?
Yes.
And when did that occur, if you can tell us or recall?
When my mom was arrested, I remember at first I did feel cared for by the Sementilli family as time went on, and I showed my, I stand by my mom and I stand by her innocence in this whole thing. Then the relationship quickly ended because they blasted her on social media every day.
So, did things change specifically when you made it clear and your sister that you believed your mom was innocent?
Yes.
And they did not, obviously, from what you're saying, react to that well.
Right.
When you say blasted on media,
Yeah.
what do you mean?
The day she was arrested, already there were posts on Instagram and Facebook about her and saying horrible things about her. And then that just continued and got even worse as time went on. And because they're my family and I followed them on social media, and I was 17 years old at the time, I would see all of it, and I just couldn't handle it anymore. So
what'd you do about it?
I had to block them on social media because I didn't want to see it. And I tried to keep a personal relationship, but then that ended quickly after.
Who did you try to keep the personal relationship with?
All of them.
And what was the response?
At first, I did want to see them. I did want to keep a relationship with them, and they tried the best that they could, but they're just too angry, so.
When you say they, who are you talking about?
Morella and her family.
So did the relationship then change significantly at that point?
Yes.
Now, at that time, you were living in the house just with your sister, is that right?
Sister, and then Anna and my grandmother would switch off and come take care of us because I was underage.
Sure. So did they come out to stay with you, one or the other, or both,
Yes.
for a lengthy period of time?
Yes.
And what about your dad's family? Did they ever come out to stay with you and help?
They offered, and we wanted them to, and my aunt and my grandmother, Anna and Filomena, offered to leave so that Morella and Loredana could come visit us, but they didn't.
They what?
They didn't.
They wouldn't?
They just didn't come.
Was that because of the animosity that occurred because of your attitude towards your mom and her arrest?
I'm assuming, yeah.
Okay. Has that changed?
No.
At any time after your dad died, do you recall any of his clothes or personal items being given away or offered to any of the family members?
Yes.
Can you describe when that occurred, for instance, how long after your father's death?
I believe it was sometime in the spring. I know Morella came, and her and my mother went through the garage and all of my dad's clothes and were going through everything. My mother was very generous and just let people take what they wanted.
And did you know what the purpose of that was?
I'm not sure what the purpose of it was. I'm assuming just to go through his stuff to see what was there. I don't know.
And if anyone wanted something
They could
as
have
a
it.
memento or whatever, could they take it?
Yes.
Okay. Did that bother you in any way?
No.
Did you think that was inappropriate, that your mom was giving some of your father's clothes away to family members?
No.
Did anyone complain there about that to you as to why she was doing it, or complain to your mother in your presence?
No.
Did that ever come up as an issue?
No.
Now, this, of course, was before your mother's arrest
Yes.
and while the families were getting along.
Yes.
Did your father had, and the family had the Porsche, and then they had some kind of truck, is that correct?
Yeah.
What was that?
The truck?
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of truck it was.
And so, who drove the truck before your father passed away?
My dad. That was his car.
And then he got the Porsche?
And then he got the Porsche.
So, what car did your mother drive after that?
Me and my mom shared the Fiat, the red Fiat.
Who drove the truck?
My dad.
Okay. So he drove both the truck and the Porsche.
Yes.
And your sister?
She drove my mom's old Mustang.
At some point, was the truck turned in or sold back to the dealership?
Yes.
You recall when that was?
No, I don't remember.
Do you recall any of the circumstances surrounding why the truck had to be given back?
I don't remember.
Okay. Eventually, was a new car purchased?
My mom, yes.
And what kind of car was that?
I believe it was a Mustang.
Okay. Was a Mustang one of your dad's favorite cars also?
I have no idea.
Okay. Do you know, did you ever find out why your father was home that day from work?
No, he would just do that randomly.
Did you ever hear or did anyone ever tell you anything about a colonoscopy appointment that your father may have had?
No.
So you don't know to this day why he stayed home other than to work at home, is that right?
Right.
When he stayed home and worked at home, where did he work usually?
On the kitchen table.
But he wasn't up when you left that day?
He was up. He was making coffee as I was leaving. He just woke up after me.
And did you talk to him?
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't remember, but I'm sure I did.
And that was the last time you saw him alive, is that right?
Yes.
You still believe in your mother's innocence?
Yes.
You know there's a lot of evidence that's been introduced in this case about your dad and the affair.
Yes.
Sustained.
Has any of the evidence that was...
Stricken.
Has any of the evidence that you know from... Well, first of all, when did you find out your mom was having an affair with Robert Baker?
The day she was arrested.
And who told you that?
The detectives that pulled me out of work. I don't remember who it was.
So you were at work that day
I was working that day.
at the place where you got the...
The job, yeah.
Okay. And you were pulled out of work by the detectives?
Yes.
You remember who it was?
No.
And were they there in person?
Yes.
And what did they tell you?
They took me to a Starbucks down the street and started recording me, and they just said that...
So, wait, started recording you?
They recorded me, yes.
Well, were they asking you questions first?
Yes.
All right, that leads me back. After the first night that you were interviewed by the police, were there other times when they came out to interview you and have you take them around the house and tell you what you did that day and so forth?
Yes.
About how many times did that occur, if you recall?
After the night that my father was killed?
Yes.
Probably only twice.
Okay. And did you cooperate?
Yes.
Did they come out to speak to your mom on occasions also?
Yes.
And did she cooperate?
Yes.
Did you know whether or not you were being recorded?
No.
Did they ever tell you the progress of the investigation into your father's death?
Yes, they did.
And what did they tell you?
They just said it was a robbery gone wrong.
And did your mom often inquire about what the
Yes.
state of the investigation was?
Yes.
And what did they say, if you recall?
They're still finding the guys who did it. That's it.
That they were making progress, things of that nature?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know that now that they were lying to you?
Yeah.
So now take me back to you're at school and they bring you out of school. They start questioning you, is that right?
Out of work, yeah. They took me out of work.
Sorry. And were these still additional questions about the investigation, where you were, where your mother was on the day of the incident and so forth?
Yeah, and that was the first time they asked me how I knew Rob Baker.
Okay. Did you know Rob Baker before your mom's arrest?
Yes.
And how did you know him?
He was the racquetball coach at the gym.
And how did you first meet Mr. Baker?
At the gym.
And can you estimate how long before your father's murder that you first met him?
Probably a year to a year and a half before.
And how did you meet him?
At the gym. I was with my sister and my mom.
And did you play racquetball there as well?
A few times, yeah.
Who played more, you or your sister?
My sister.
Was she better?
Yeah.
What about your mom?
She went often, yeah.
And she played there as well?
Yes.
Did she introduce you to Mr. Baker?
Yes.
As who?
As the racquetball coach.
And how many times would you estimate after that you were at the gym or went to the gym before your father's death?
Say that again, sorry.
How many times, how often would you go to the gym to play racquetball or do anything else?
Not often.
Who went more, you or your sister?
My sister.
So she played racquetball there?
Yes. Yes.
And what about your mom?
Often.
Did you, well, when you say often, how often would you estimate that your mom went to the gym that you know of,
Yeah.
play racquetball or do anything else?
Yeah, a few times a week.
And the times that you went there, did you see Mr. Baker as well?
I don't remember that. If I was with my sister and my mom, yeah, I used to see him there, but I never went by myself. So
Was he friendly with you?
yes.
Did you ever see Robert Baker other than at the gym?
Yes.
Can you tell us the first time you saw him outside of the gym setting?
I don't remember the first time, but there are a few incidences where I've seen him outside of the gym. I don't know what order it is in.
All right, well, tell us about the first one you remember.
Okay. My cousin was visiting, and we were at the hotel because our house was getting painted, and we were getting off of the freeway. And as we're getting off the freeway, I was in a separate car, and my sister and cousin were in the car in front of me, and her tire popped. And I remember them pulling over to the side of the road, and a car pulled up behind her. I called her and I asked her what happened, and she said that her tire popped, but she sees Rob is behind her, so he helps them with her flat tire.
And when she said Rob was behind her, did you know who she was talking about?
Yes.
Was that Robert Baker?
Yes.
Did you know why he was behind her?
No.
Did you know if anyone had called him?
No.
Did you see him outside the car? Did you say hello or anything? Or
No.
what did you do?
I kept driving because I was behind them.
And he helped fix the tire, is that right?
He called someone to come fix it.
Did that feel a little creepy to you?
Let's overrule that ground. So stand on that ground.
How did that make you feel to seeing Mr. Baker suddenly show up behind you?
At the time, it didn't feel weird
Okay, why?
because I just thought it was a coincidence.
When did you next see Mr. Baker before your mom's arrest?
The same trip that my cousin was visiting, we went to a restaurant, Denny's restaurant, and we sat...
Denny's, you said?
Denny's.
Okay.
And we sat down, and Rob was sitting right next to us, the table right next to us.
And was it...
We're going to take our lunch and recess until 1:30. The admission applies. Have a good lunch. See you at 1:30.